All right. What's up, y'all? Seth Sundberg with 7 Foot Solutions. I get asked a lot about how do I do underwriting? How do you get good at it? It takes me too long, et cetera, et cetera. And I've done a napkin math video, but I wanted to take this time and walk you guys through exactly how I underwrite stuff, and I think it's the right way. I think it'll hopefully give you some guidance on how to just input the data, get an understanding, and I'm just gonna go through a project. I'm actually heading to Houston next week for an event, and while I'm there, there's a couple properties that I've already underwritten and want to look at. But what I thought I'd do is I just grab something off Crexy and show you and walk you guys through this thing. So here we have a 177 unit property in Houston, South Houston, and it's been on for 466 days, so over a year and a half. So I doubt there's anything here for us, but I'll just show you how I kind of analyze a deal and walk through. And you can see, obviously take a look at the marketing description, built in 1972. What kind of capex they've done, unit mix here, 1, 2, 3 bedroom units, HVAC throughout, replaced. Property was renovated in 2016, right? So that's 8 years ago now, even though it doesn't seem like that long. Property of the year finalist. That's interesting. So, anyways, we can minimal deferred maintenance. Okay, we can take a look at this, and I'll just walk you through some of the stuff. So first, what I do is I wanna look at this, and I'm gonna go, okay, what kind of property are we dealing with? I mean, the Crexy says C, and it's right because of the original vintage, and I want to see. We use RE indicator as well. Shout out to Scott, and we'll just plug this in here and see where we're at. So here's what we're looking at. So this is the green is a C, the blue is a D. Now sometimes these blues are opportunity zones and they're automatically a D. Sometimes they're just that type of area. But you can see, you can kind of get an idea of where this thing's at in the grand scheme of things. Some A and B's over here, but it's definitely in the rougher part. So again, looks like southeast of Houston, and you can kind of see this is A's, and path of progress would kind of say, just by looking at this map, going from west to east here. Now maybe there's some south to north progress from this A area here, and that kind of pushes things up there. But it's a tough thing to identify. And so it's not to say that this property doesn't work because of that. It's just to say, know what you're getting into and go from there. So the other thing that I want to do is I'm going to pull up the operating agreement and see where we're at with that thing. Where are we at here? There we go. So I'm going to pull this up, and I'm just going to put these things side by side here so we can see it. I'm going to change this date to today. I just got a blank template up here, I want to put in the address, number of units, 177, purchase price. I don't know, if we were going 100,000 a door, it's 17 million. Let's do 12 million and see how it pencils. I'm just throwing it out there. I don't even know if they have an offer price in their piece. I want to keep pulling that up. It's another project I got going on, but let's see here. So yeah, unpriced. There you go. So it's not, they don't have a price. They're just looking to see what they can get in the marketplace. And so we'll walk through this. Let's see. Any other relevant information? 1972 C acres. Okay, we'll take this number and we'll put that rentable square footage right there. Again, you can see that $68,000 a door is basically that, where that's at. So So you can look at these OMs. These OMs tell you a lot of information. They also give you a lot of fluff. But one of the things I do want to see here is the loan terms. And let's see what we're looking at. So origination date, okay, 19, maturity date, 28. That's okay. So we'll use that number. Current balance 913 original. Okay. Let's just see. Let's just assume that we're going to take this over and do a 5.04. I don't think it's going to be interest only anymore, so we're going to change that to 30 years. You can see that 30 years to 250 is the difference between interest only and principal and interest. Yeah, and that's not actually too far off. So 25% if we did 12 million, it's $3,000 down payment, $9 million loan amount, 91,38,500 is the current debt. So let's assume. I'm just going to make a note here in the bottom. Assume debt 9.138 million at 5.045%. All right, and any questions that come up there, I'm gonna make a note of. I already put the I put the link in here too in the underwriting. So, and I'm happy to share this underwriting if anybody wants to use this template, or if you have your own, great. But just throwing that out there. All right, so let's go back over here. I'm going to call this Teresita. So let's do this. Okay, so recently completed. So you can see some of this information. They're going to tell you some more about the amenities. It's got a pool, blah, 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 blah. That's not the important stuff right now. This is the meat and potatoes of it right now. So let's go here. All right, first thing I want to do is I want to look at is this pro forma? Yeah, it's pro forma. Okay, so current and pro forma. Okay, great. So we got what we need here. I want to do the unit count. So we got a couple of things here. I'm not sure what's here, but let's go back to the market rents. We're going to go efficiency. We're going to say there's two of those. Average unit rent is $836 for those. Let's just go loft here, special here. I don't know what these are. We're gonna have to put them in the wrong spot. But you can tell there's only one of each. So I'm gonna make a note of 1136. 1200, and we got to validate this stuff for sure. So it's just getting it in there and getting it going, and then seeing what happens. So let me see here. We got we have 61 one bedroom, one baths. So let's put that here. 61. Make that a little bigger. Don't get old, your eyes get worse. And then you got 72 2-in-1s. I'm going to leave the rents blank for those because I'm going to look at. I use Rent-A-Meter. So I'm going to change this to 1.5 to 2 bath, 2 bedroom, 2 bath. Oops. Let's see, so 2 bedrooms, 2 bath, we got 16 of those, and then we got 3 and 2, so we got 2 different 3 and 2s here. I'm gonna squish these, but make a note, different unit square footage for 3 and 2s, loft and special question mark. Mark? All right, I just put notes in there and then we'll come back to that once we get more verification of it. So, what do we got here? So that's 24 units, right, of 3 and 2. So I'm gonna put 24 there. All right, great. Now this is market rent, right? So we're going to underwrite this thing in a couple different ways, but we want to know what the market rent is for these things. So I'm going to go and look at rent-to-meter. Rent-to-meter is good. It's not perfect, but it's a good kind of baseline to get, what we want to do. And if I keep pulling that out, we're going to be in trouble. There we go. Let's see. All right. Okay, here we go. So I'm gonna do studio and 1 bath and see what it says there. All right, average 866, median 900. I'm gonna use 900. I think that's probably about right for that area, but we'll have to verify that. We'll do all that through. They already have 836. So are they close? Yeah, 866, 900. Okay, it's pretty close. Well, let's leave what they got. And then we got 61. Is it 1 bedroom, 1 bath? And I put this in the wrong place. Yep, I sure did. So let's do 61 there. Just make sure. So 1 bedroom, 1 bath. Yeah, these are all 1 bedroom, 1 bath. Okay, great. All right, so let's go back here. 1 bedroom and 1 bath. Okay, so you can see 937. So it's probably about right. Let's go here. Let's just use that 937. 937. Okay, great. Now we got 2 bedroom, 1 baths. 1150. All right, let's do that. 2 bedroom, 1 bath, 1150. 2 bedroom and 1 or more baths. Let's see what's changing here. Sometimes that doesn't work well. Yeah, so it drops it a bit in the average, which is weird. But the median is 1161. 75th percentile. Let's use this just because I think that's probably closer to the truth. But we'll verify that in the market survey when we get there in the process. I usually do a market survey after we put an LOI in, just to make sure that we got the deal tied up, and then we can spend some time on that. All right, so let's try this. Average, median. Okay, let's try 1656 for the 3 and 2s. Now this is, again, it might be 1900 is closer to the larger square footage, but the 1656 is probably about right for that. So we'll just use an average and just say 1656 conservatively. That's not an average. That's just the bottom of it. And then you can see we got 2.433 million of, and that shows up here of gross potential market rent. Okay. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this address. I'm going to save this file now, and I have a specific naming convention that I use, which is the state, the city, Terracita Apartments, the name of the apartment if we have that. I'll take the zip in that out. I'll put the address, how many units, and then where I got it from, if there's a broker or a partnership or something, and then what the file is. So we're going to put that there, and we'll save that like that. All right, good. And then what we're going to do is we're going to pull back up the underwriting, insurance. So let's pull this up here. And again, we don't know what their asking price is, but we're using a 12 million strike price. So let's see what they got for, let's just take a look here. Okay. Market rent a month. So they're at, okay, almost $200,000. So 200,000 times 12 is 2.4, right? So they're right at market rents for for this, it seems. Occupancy 98.2. Maybe they need to push that a bit too. So financials dates December 2022. So we just make a mental note right there that we need new financials, because these are a year and a half old. Okay. So we want to know what's currently performing at. But let's just use this information. So let's go here, and this is the seller's information. So we're going to go down this column 2374740. Okay, great. Adjusted gross potential rent, vacancy loss, and then they're taking vacancy out of that. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to use this adjusted gross potential rents, because this is what they should be getting, right? Current underwriting T3. Yeah, okay, they're basing it on T3. So when you start seeing T3s, you go, okay, maybe they just did some renovations at this point and started leasing up, and this is why they're using the T3 versus the T12. It doesn't mean anything, just something to think through and go from there on. So let's say 2256003. I guess they're using this as a 2256003 as a loss to lease, which is what's projected. I don't know where the difference is coming in there, but and then they got the vacancy 95880. Concessions, economic occupancy. Okay, maybe that's where that's coming from, the difference between those two things. So there's some weirdness, because they're saying that the economic occupancy is 84%, but the physical occupancy back over here is 98.2, right? So we got some questions to ask, and I'm just going to start writing these down as we go. Why? Economic occupancy 84% and physical is 98.2. Okay. And I'll write down the difference between net rental income and adjusted gross potential rent. All right. I haven't looked at this before, so I'm just writing these notes down as we go through it all together. So just thinking through stuff as we go, and I'll try and talk through everything that we can do. So other income per unit $1,000. Okay. Now when I see this per unit $1,000 as even number, it makes me concerned. We're going to use it, but I don't believe that that's an accurate number. So. So I'm making no. Other income, verify, and is what? Okay. Utility reimbursements. Okay, so we got that. 1202, not much. Total other income. Okay, great. So we got 23. Why do we have a different number than they have? Total rental income. Because they've got 20, that minus that. $2178 is what they have, effective gross. What's the difference between two? So I'm going to say 256,000 here. 282 cents doesn't make a big difference. Let's see. All right, so we got some work to do on these numbers. You can tell because there's a discrepancy somewhere, right? So you got 200,000. Oh, that's other income. There you go. What if we take that out? Yeah, that's what they're doing. So they're somehow 256,000, and they're wrapping that vacancy loss in with that difference there. So, all right. Well, at least we know what they did, but let's see how this thing plays out. Still, all right. All right. So let's see. Payroll. They're 178, 947. Then you just start taking these numbers and putting them into the seller side as current. So G&A, we got 35,400. Repairs maintenance, 88,500. Contract services, 48,675. Again, now when I'm seeing these even numbers, I'm starting to go, okay, they're just not keeping very good books of this stuff. Is kind of what I'm thinking right now. So, advertising promotion, we're going to put in a marketing 17,700. So they're calling that controllable expenses. Utilities, 283,767. Insurance, 177,000. Again, zero numbers, so I'm going to dig into that, see if that's true or not. Management fee, 65,358, 358. Property taxes, 348, 357. Now, it used to be for Houston that for Texas, period, property taxes were always very high. I think they're between 2.5% of total purchase price is typically what it comes down to. Sometimes that works more on the residential side than it does on the multifamily side as far as a rule of thumb. But now insurance in Houston has gone up a bunch too. So we're gonna have to check. And again, it's making me concerned that all these numbers are kind of round numbers. So check insurance quote. Round numbered items. I'll just put that there. I don't know what that means for later. All right, but as we go, we got the seller's information in there. So what are we looking at here? So this is again a $12 million purchase price. We don't know, but we got an NOI of 934. What I look at immediately is the cash on cash return, debt coverage ratio, and cap rate, right? So cap rate 7.8, that's the cash on cash return is 5.4. The cash on cash is kind of the lowest piece, but the cap rate's decent, and the debt coverage ratio is decent too, which makes me think they're not in this 12 million range, especially given the debt and what we know on the debt and the amount that they've put into capex. So we'll have to talk to the broker and see what they think for a if they can give us any idea of whisper price or price per door that they're kind of looking at in the ballpark. They have replacement reserves. Okay, so they got another piece here which is $53,100. That's why the NOI is different. So let's put that in here. What are we going to put that under? Replacement reserves. Let's do it under R&M and just say that that's part of it. So 88,500. That's 6,092. 142,600. 142,600. All right, there you go. So that changes it to a 4.4% cash on cash, a 1.42 debt service coverage ratio, and a 7.3% cap rate. Ideally, we want to be at we want this debt service coverage ratio to be above 1.25, and we want these numbers to be as high as possible. There's a school of thought that says look for a 12% cash on cash return, 1.6 or above debt service coverage ratio, and a cap rate of 8% or above. And that's a good goal to have. But honestly, I've never seen it at acquisition. So I think that's just something that we want to look at and go through. So, all right, so that's there. So let's do this. Let's take 2256,003. Let's see what the difference is. Let's just do a physical vacancy of 13%. That's 12. Let's try 12. 11.5. All right, so we're pretty close there. So let's do 11.5% vacancy, rounded it up to 12, and we'll just use that there. We got 1202. And 177,000. Again, we don't, that other income, we got to know a little bit more of what that's going to be. So let me do this. Let's do, let's say if we were at 15 million. Oops, that's one too many zeros. So that's 300. That's not enough. Let's just do taxes at 400,000 and see. Confirm mill rate for taxes. Okay, so we're gonna go there. Insurance, we're gonna assume that policy is legitimate and can go from there. It's $1,000 a door, which definitely ain't that. So, 142,600. They got some reserves in there too, so that's a bit high, but that's fine. 35. 400. Oh, that's what they're doing. They're just doing round numbers on assumptions here. So they're not going on actuals. So we need actuals. We need an actual T12. So 4%. They're at 3%. I'm going to keep our number 17.7. There you go. $100 again. It's wonky. 283. 767. Now, as I'm looking at this, that number seems high to me. So I'm gonna dig into the utilities a bit and utility costs and see about maybe doing an audit there to get that number down a bit. Let's see, 48, 675. And if we're let's use their number, 178,947. So that's about, payroll is about $1,000 a door. So we're a little bit lower. We're using a $300 CapEx number. Oh, they're using that number there for that. Let's I don't want to confuse you guys, but that 53,100 number, this replacement reserves is what they got here. We call it capital expenditures, and it's $300 a door that they're basing it on. And so if I take it out of here, I just want you to know that changes the NOI because of just the way the underwriting is. So, but let's do that since we see now where that came from. 8,500. Okay, good. So again, this NOI you can see here is different than this by that $53,100 ish, and so will ours be, right? But here it's taken out of here. We just take it out lower. So, all right. So you got NOI after capital. There you go. There's an 804. There's the number that you're looking at there, which is pretty close to this cash flow number here. So our numbers are 3.6% cash on cash return, 1.38 debt service coverage ratio, and a cap rate. So it's got a decent cap rate. It's just the cash is getting eaten up. So there's a couple of things we got to check on this. And again, this is at 12 million. Let's change this. I think this is going to be closer to just seeing their debt. I think their expectations are going to be a bit higher. And we'll see. We'll play with it. That's the next step is once you get there. So now you can see it's 1.1% cash on cash, 1.1 debt service coverage ratio, and a 5.7 cap rate. All right. And then we're going to take a peek. So then we're going to take a peek at this 10-year number. Let's just make sure we got everything over here. We got mortgage amount. Oh, that's different. Let's do this 35. Let's do 37. Okay, let's try 40. There you go. So 40% down. So it's a 40% equity raise if we did assume the debt at that 5.05% number. We've got closing costs, acquisition fee, loan points, total closing costs over here. This is taking an $8,000 a door renovation number. We can play with that a bit too, because it depends on what type of renovations they did in 2016. We're going to have to see if they need updated appliances and things like that. So let's leave that for now. and you can see all that comes in as part of the gray. So $9 million of acquisition costs, and that includes the down payment, closing costs, and prepaid items. So about a $10 million raise on this one. And let's look at the 10-year and just see kind of what we're looking at here. So this is taking into effect if we got those numbers that we put here in the market rent section, right? So if we get these numbers up to this, and these are accurate numbers, right? There's your number right there, right? Let's just see. I'll show you where it's coming in, right? 2.433. And then it's right there, right? And then it's going to assume, the rents go up 3% a year, and that expenses only go up 2%. Now, that may or may not be accurate for Houston in this area, depending on what's happening with supply and demand, and are they doing new builds in that area? How long is it going to take for the market to absorb new units, et cetera, et cetera. So, just kind of macro market stuff. So all these things you gotta just kind of look at. Right now, we're just making reasonable assumptions, and then we will validate and verify everything as we move forward. If we wanted to submit an offer on this property, again, I just found this off Crexy and just grabbed it so we could use it as an example. So there's some occupancy stuff here that's happening, right, that we got to dig into. I'm just gonna make a note. I know we talked about why the economic and that is there too, but I think that's something to dive into. That'll tell us a little bit more about what it is we're looking for. So cap rate, we'd be purchasing at 5.7 with our numbers, and then if we sold it at 5.7, we might need to bump that up a bit. So let's do it at a higher cap rate. If we did acquisition plus 0.5 for the 7-year and the 10-year, and just see. All right, so assuming that these numbers are the case, we would look at our equity partners. Well, we have a total cash on cash return of 5%, and our equity partner is getting 4%. It doesn't really hit the preferred returns that we would want to offer for this type of project. And after a 5-year, the total IRR is 6.6%, right? So, and that brings the value to a little over, where are we at now? Yeah, the price would be 20 million, right? From 15 where we're at. So, it's not a deal that I don't think that we would jump into this, right? But at least you guys can see how we get there. I don't know how long this took. 33 minutes is what it's saying. So, you can see how to put that in. And again, I haven't looked at this, at this property before. So, I just kind of teed it up, and they have their comparables and all that. And you can use that to validate stuff. But this is kind of the quickest way that we've seen to be able to get something on paper. I'm going to expand this out and just go, all right, now we can start, seeing what's here for that property. And if it's something we want to dig into or not, right? We're looking at more A and B stuff right now. So better areas, newer builds, and places that have, a value add. And value add can come in a lot of different ways. If you can get some of these expenses dropped down, especially these utility costs, we might do a utility audit here. We got to confirm. I'm a little weary that this insurance number is too low, so we'd have to validate that, et cetera, et cetera. But this doesn't come off as a smashing opportunity. It's probably one of the reasons why it's been on for a year and a half on the market. But anyways, that's how you underwrite 177 units, and see, it might be worth shooting an email to the broker to say, hey, what are you guys looking at from a price expectations? Do you have a range, whisper price, et cetera, to kind of validate and firm that up? And if they go, oh, we want 22 million, it's like, okay, well, we're not there. So keep us in the loop on your next one, whatever the case may be. But anyways, that's how to underwrite 177 units, and hope that helps, and good luck with all your underwriting. I always say underwriting is the gym of the multifamily apartment world, right? You want to get strong, in the business. This is where the weights are. It doesn't matter what part of the team that you're on. Everybody needs to know how to underwrite, and everybody needs to know how to read these numbers. So there's only one way to get stronger, and that's to pick up the weight and put it down, and pick it up and put it down. And that's what this is. And I know it takes in the early days, it takes a little bit longer to get into it and dive in and kind of start seeing what the numbers are telling you and some of the weirdness and all that. But you do it enough times, you get a finger on the pulse, right? And then you can say, yep, if these numbers were different, if this number was let's just call it 3 million. I think that's, oops, there we go. Right, we look at that and we go, oh wow, we got 11% cash on cash. Like, I'm not doing anything else. The next thing I would do is submit an LOI right now. Confirm this price, and then say we're very interested. Let's submit an LOI and see if we can get it tied up, right? But that's not the case. But at least you guys can see where you start playing with levers and going from there. So, anyways, hope this helps. Good luck with your underwriting. God bless, and we'll talk soon.